if you're gonna look after people in the community, you want them to be in wrapped ETH, you know.
Oh
So
yeah, 100%.
I feel like I don't know, man. I have a feeling because last time ETH pumped, right? Pulsechain, Inc, like all the Richard Hart like assets, like they didn't really do anything until like Richard Hart came in, like the OA address came in and started pumping them. I don't know if it's gonna be the same thing, but I feel like we're probably gonna lag behind them. So you'd rather be in wrapped ETH, like ready, you know, ready for. At the end of the day, I do feel like Hex is gonna outperform PLS. I think PLS is gonna be the last thing that's gonna actually like move up. You know, you're gonna want to be. My top picks right now is Inc, PLSX, Hex, and then PLS in order. You know what I mean? That's how I see how everything's gonna move. So yeah, man. I'm glad that the ETF went through. Like Cardano has like ADA has a way lower TVL than Pulsechain does, and it has a way higher market cap than Pulsechain does. It doesn't really make sense to me. But that's when you know like Pulsechain is like it's really undervalued. Like it doesn't really make sense how there's that much TVL locked up, but like it's only like what's Pulsechain right now? Like 730, $40 million market cap.
It
And
depends on how you
Cardano
look
is
at it.
chilling
If
at
you, yeah,
$15 billion market cap. Like, like make that make sense, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to like knock sense into people. Like, yo, like Pulsechain is really like undervalued compared to other blockchains. So if you guys are not like putting your money into it, like you guys are just retarded. You know what I mean?
And Pulsechain is Ethereum. Ethereum is Pulse, right? There's one they can't really they have to coexist. So that's super exciting for me. And I mean I can talk in circles all day, but I want someone else to chime in for a little bit. I'm gonna grab a sip of water. I mean, what are you thinking, Viber over there? I'm excited about this. I think that this could be that this coupled with the narrative of PDI, nothing. I don't think we're going to see anything bigger in blockchain. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it so far. I'm going to give some people the mic real quick. Yeah, Capcom, what are your thoughts on some of this stuff that we've? It's literally only been a few days since we've been looking at these some of these models and stuff. Like I found the teddy bear contract. I've never seen the teddy bear contract before, but this was it. You know, like I didn't know teddy bear had nodes that it was hosting and running on. I didn't know that TSFI, same thing, right? So there's a lot of truth into what we're seeing. I mean, we'll always take caution, but man, Richard Hart, you can't fade the guy. I was just kind of see where y'all at with it. See where y'all were at with that.
Bro, I think everything you're doing is incredible. Like me myself, I couldn't read code I can't read it for shit. It's a complete different language to me. But I don't care. I don't want to learn code. There's other smarter people around me that can do it and relay information. And I just remember back last summer when Pete I, all the FUD was there, and oh, it's just a meme coin, oh, it's a scam, da 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 da. We started to find some smoke, and so many things were starting to become like, okay, this can't be coincidence. This can't be coincidence. And surely enough, look where we are a year later. And when you're talking about the again, I'm no biologist at all. I didn't even know that there was 100 million cells in the body or brain. But just the fact that those tokenomics match all this stuff up, I mean, there is something bigger going on. I know it, and I just think I work with other projects in crypto, and I talk to a bunch of different people, and something really a couple weeks ago shocked me. And I was talking to a DeFi protocol that's launching. They got funding from a DAO, an organization, and they're going live. They're doing just liquidity pools, giving yield, basically like a 9 millimeter or whatever. And he was telling me that the list of stuff that their attorney sent them that they're not allowed to post on social media, they were not allowed to post any kind of emojis. They weren't allowed to use certain words. It was absolutely crazy. Like they were not allowed to put up a rocket emoji under their Twitter account because that could insinuate that they're manipulating the charts or whatever. So I see that really shocked me. So then I think, okay, these guys are publicly good to go. They're under no scrutiny from the SEC. Imagine being in Richard's shoes. What he's trying to pull off right now on top of the SEC breathing down his neck. I would just assume the stuff that his attorneys are sending him are 10 times of what these guys were telling me. So the fact that we're never going to get anything directly from Richard. He's not going to be able to do it until the case is over. I really don't think. And so all
Yeah,
these guy people. Go ahead.
No, you're right, dude. That and if it's about freedom of speech, we have to at least have the conversation for the sake of the man that did all this work. If he can't do it and he can't speak about it, at least we can try to connect some of the dots for to speak for him in a sense until he can actually come out. I don't think he ever has to show up, do a stream, do anything ever
Did I
again.
cut out?
No, you're there. Go ahead. Maybe I was cutting out.
Yeah, for a little bit, but we're good.
No, okay, we're good now. Yeah, I think you're right. I think ultimately, I can only imagine that he's hired the best lawyers. But the one thing that stood out is with all that going down, he threw $400 million of sacrifice money right into this guy, and I believe that was the start of in my opinion, of the aha moment for me. Going, yep, that's what I was waiting for, because that was a big connection with Maker and Hexanaut and Spark, right from the get-go. And then ever since that day, I kind of picked off, because Vibra, Money Gang, and The Verse, y'all, I watched y'all's videos and followed y'all early on, and I was like, man, and y'all were doing the on-chain analysis and this and that, and I was just, sitting back and I just loving what I was hearing, and I was like, okay, trying to figure out a way to contribute, and with my own little weird mind, started connecting dots through relationships. So I went a different route. So I started looking at personal, like actual, Twitter accounts and relationships and just things like that. And that's whenever I started drawing the conclusions that I drew. And it's only grown into something, truthful and respectable in their own right. That they are not working against each other. We're talking MakerDAO and Pulse and Gnosis and this and that. Like, these guys are seemingly, they understand that we have one shot to get this right. I think even CZ, finance, right? If we're going to change the currencies, the system, you can't fall into the same system by getting the same people filthy rich again, because you're ultimately going to fall right back into the same corrupt system you just crawled out of. So what Maria and Richard are trying to accomplish is allowing people like us that maybe don't have $10,000 to our name to put into this stuff. You don't need that much to change your life. And this system, from what I can see, has been like some of my tokens that I've bought have now I've been getting weird random like incentives because of liquidity pools that I've made or things that I've done, or things like there was one time I made a liquidity pool, and it's like boom, all of a sudden I was airdropped 5,555 pulse, like I did something positive. So like the chain also grows and knows and will incentivize you for doing positive behavior. And maybe not going to do it all the time, maybe not to everybody, but it's very interesting to think that technically over time Atropa could do this as well as Pulsechain, that it will learn what heals the chain or what it believes that should be happening, and it will incentivize you that way. It doesn't have to be written in the code, right? Because these things are hosted by nodes. These things are off-chain nodes, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in the code for this to still be able to be pushed out through the code on chain, which is why they run it, and that's why they're running their own nodes, and it can choose where to put that value without us knowing. So it's more of a randomness to it, right? So it's super exciting. Moonboot, where are you at, bud? Moonboot is an absolute legend as far as like this dude flips liquidity pools and brings them to parity in his sleep. But yeah, Moonboot.
I'm not that big of a legend.
Yeah,
Well, I like the things you're saying, man. And I entertain the ideas a little more than just entertain them, right? It's like, it's like, let's dive into it and see what this idea is made of. Let's dissect it. And so far, I think I think all of us have done a good job of, we still need to keep working on it. I had a question. I'm glad you called on me. I had a question. Can you dive into the 20 million BTC on the bridge and how the T-shares were able to back the 20 million BTC and like how it's there, why it's there? I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
yeah. So yeah, so RAT-BTC is in and of itself, it's like a whole blood T cell. So it's actually directly related to T cells, and so is T shares. T shares are T cells, and then RAT-BTC is also something that protects T cells. It's also like a large blood vessel. So technically, there was never a wrapped hex. We never had the ability. No one ever had the ability to move T shares around. We didn't know where that value went. But what happened was Richard called for the old E hexers that were going to bridge their value over into a liquidity farm that he made. So Hart knew that these guys would come over and bring their hex over there, bring their hex from over there over to here. And at that time, he did two things. I believe he probably brought some T shares with it, but the main thing that he did once the hex and EHEX and hex were put, EHEX and PX were put in the same liquidity pool, he made a bond. He literally sampled the chain and he froze the chain through the sampling that we were talking about. It was like a certain degree. They do this to octopuses to make them realize that they have 8 legs. It's just crazy. But what it did at that point in time was then Hex realized that it is the same Hex. So throughout its journey, the way that it reacted, and then so like in the actual liquidity pool, it jumped up and then reverted and went back down the other way, and then back up and down, and then it split off, and it went back to quote unquote chain. People got mad, whatever it was. But what in that moment, they did the same thing with Pepe. But in that moment, what it caused was it to recognize itself as the same token. So that's it's very interesting that he's utilizing real world things that they do and that they've used before that has worked, and he's doing it and simulating this stuff. Maybe not him, someone simulating this stuff on chain. How a token can realize that it is the same as the P copy and the other copy. Will we see the V3 farms? Maybe. I mean, if there's a V3 farms that come out, y'all better get ready, boys and girls, because that means the liquidity is about to be pulled on the V1 farms. It's going to be then it's going to moon, and then the liquidity will be added. They did that on the testnet itself. He added liquidity like over the course of time. He just kind of a little bit more and more to it over time. I was cutting out. Can y'all hear me again, or did I drop off?
Oh, we can hear you. I can hear you.
All right, cool. So yeah, go ahead, keep at
it. To the Bitcoin on the bridge and being backed by the T-shares.
Yeah, so he would be able to mint it because he owns the protocol. So he would be able to go into the MakerDAO protocol, find what the T-share contract is. We wouldn't know. I'm sure there is a T-share contract. It's following something. And then he would be able to say, I want Wrap Bitcoin, because Wrap Bitcoin is controlled by the Maker protocol. And then he's like, I want to collateralize Wrap Bitcoin with this value, right? And then technically be able to mint it. I don't think he could mint it without value. He could maybe have some fake value with some crazy large numbers and to mint it that way. But I still think he's playing by the right rules, benevolent behavior, and that's where I believe that's, from what I've seen, that's where that 20 billion came from. It's not going to leave there. I think it's just going to be a big blood vessel for everyone that uses the Omni bridge, not just our Omni bridge. I believe it'll be, anyone that uses Omni pretty much, will have that access to run their tokens through that big capillary, that big artificial blood vessel, so to speak. And the more RAT BTC that you have on each network, the stronger the network is. There's a rating system. I won't go into that today. I want to look more into it, but there's a certain type of chemical bond that these actual people that own these journal companies are trying to create. And one way to create them is with 2 RAT Bitcoin, this 1 4-letter acronym. And then this 4-letter acronym can be also made with Ethereum and a few other tokens like Hex. And it's like literally it's very interesting for them to say we're going after this specifically, and they're the ones that seem to be hosting a lot of this information, and also knowing what was provided to the chain for information wise, and kind of gamifying it a little bit, because there's going to be multiple ways to be able to create this same type of 4-letter. I don't even know if it's. I don't think it's an actual chemical. I just think it's just what they're telling their shareholders that they're trying to obtain, and
Well,
they're like, mm-hmm.
what do you think happens? So okay, so I would have to imagine that when Wrap Bitcoin first came out. Well, I don't know this is how. Here's my thoughts. There was only so many original Wrap Bitcoin, and there can only be so many original Wrap Bitcoin. So if you can mint 20 million Wrap Bitcoin, then what happens if they get bridged off of the bridge into any ecosystem?
Yeah, that means that they paid for it. Yeah, that
20 million.
Yeah, that means that someone just on ramped the value somewhere that it will leave the bridge, but it only would leave
That means
if
more
there's real value that's put
circulation,
into.
right?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that
they
there's more coin in circulation than actually can be?
no. That's what I'm saying. It won't ever. The buffer is just a buffer. It's a way to where it can on ramp and off ramp through it, and it'll know. Like, so, say you have 10 wrap Bitcoin on on Ethereum, right? Then you change to the PulseNet. Boom, your 10 wrap Bitcoin's still there. Oh wow, but you use one, and then you go back to Ethereum, right? The buffer holds it, and the buffer knows where you spent it, right? And then you only have 9 on Ethereum. That's what the buffer is
Are
for.
there other buffer tokens? I mean, so if
Yes,
there's Bitcoin on
there's
a bridge,
been
then every token has to be buffered on the bridge for it to cross the bridge.
correct, and so they just added a buffer for DAI, a 20 million DAI, a buffer directly to Coinbase. So there's only, I believe, you're only going to need one big buffer for each bridging technique, or each bridge per se, like because right now we're only seeing Omni use it. So Omni is the ones that are using these buffer bridges, and the reasoning for that is so they can actually keep the protocol own liquidity and continue to make APY without affecting and locking up circulating bridge that is usually hackable. The thing that could happen here is, even if that 20 million Bitcoin was hacked and taken away from that bridge and tried to do something with it, they know where it came from. They know how to track that down and to remove it from supply, because it's literally easily seen what it's doing. So it probably even has a certain type of marker to it, and the Omni bridge has been the safest bridge for years and years and years and years and years. So I believe that's just it's the next phase that they need, that not only keeps the velocity of money moving, because now you're not, and then you don't have to worry about lock mint, like that's still happening, but you yourself are able to see your value moving around a lot smoother and more seamlessly, so to speak, without having to wait 30 minutes, click a button, do this. Oh, did I get it all? Did my transaction go through? It's going to make it to where your bridge more instantaneous, so you just feel more connected. I think is what I would say is what and then you're talking about directly involving Coinbase with DAI, and they updated Coin USDC to the model that we see on Pulsechain already. So I think that was they literally just pushed a vote through to update USDC to a feeless, gasless swapping feature that just so happened to already exist here. That was one of the very first things that RH did to the protocol after minting a bunch of stablecoins on the network. He then updated up that feature inside the system to where you could mint any which way with those 3 stablecoins. So it's almost like they was testing it here, and now they're actually pushing it through on Coinbase and with DAI. And again, maybe the 20 million is just a magic number. Maybe the value is irrelevant, but the actual number of 20 million is what matters, because maybe it just makes it easier to stick it and track it. But yeah, with I don't know what it would take to be listed on this bridge. Like, if you would have to be a certain type of token, or because like a community like Load, right? You would I mean, how would you get that on that bridge, right? That would be, I mean, are we still bridging the same way? How does that operate like us? Or since, there's not many people that are going to, as many people utilizing the protocol, that you don't really have to put tokens up for grabs or have a buffer of tokens because, we're already kind of cross-chained as is, but I think it's more alluding to, and it's more for these bigger protocols that are going to be utilizing the Spark arbitraging and the flash loaning mechanics. So the Spark Finance, what they're doing pretty much is they're longing and they're shorting stablecoins with leverage, controlling the pricing of all this all the stable coins. So they're able to push the price down of USDC. They're able to short DAI. They're able to long DAI. Short USDT, and over time they're trading against themselves pretty much. So it's a great way to not only provide a very, very low risk, high reward for stablecoin holders, like so to speak, like someone who's just holding DAI or just holding USDC, or and getting a stable and competitive APY. But it's also showing that this system has the ability, like last month, what was this, like 76 billion DAI minted and 74 billion burnt. So anyone that's like a big time money guy, is seeing that these are happening on chain quietly, which is, you would think a billionaire would kind of, not want to have everyone know what their next move is, or how they're getting onboarded onto the chain. So I think that it's showing that the infrastructure for larger values to be held and to be moved and utilized on chain are here, and they're preparing or getting ready for something. But I think they're showing everyone that the infrastructure is ready for them when they're ready, or they're going to be waiting too long, and fiat's going to catch fire, and then they're going to have to come running over here. And I think it's just a matter of time. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Oh, Sonny, buddy, what's up, dude? Hope you're well. Speak a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see it. I mean, and like making sure that is really what we're seeing too, right? Is that the 20? I mean, I just don't think it's going to leave the bridge. I think it's just a buffer. It might just be another test. That's why it's done over here. Or it might have done it like as they were making the DAI buffer. It might have created this other buffer on just like a mimicking type of uh, type of event. But yeah, we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on it because it was definitely interesting
Yeah, maybe
to see
I
it.
mean, I'll look into it too, because now that just you get the questions, you're just like, well, what is it? What happens with this, that, and the other thing? So maybe I'll dive into that too a little bit more, see what we can find.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was definitely crazy when I saw it. Because I was like on Hex Scout, I think, and I was like, "Why is there 20 million BTC on our bridge right now?" And then that's whenever I looked and I saw that yeah, there was another 20 million on another bridge for USDC that was called a buffer. So it's like this new type of technology that I think, and that is already kind of being utilized with this account abstraction, higher hosted master wallet type of feature. Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in? Torrin, how you doing, bud? Let's see, toss it out some invites if anyone wanted to come up. Or if anyone had any more questions, concerns, thoughts, feel free to raise your hand and chime in. I was trying to think of how many we're probably getting real close here. I was trying to think of one last good thing to get to touch on. Let's see.
Bro, I
Go
just
back.
want to say something real quick too. That I pay attention to a couple things outside of Pulsechain, and I think that XRP, love it or hate it, is going to be used at scale with banks, and who knows what else. But I just see with what they're doing right now, with what they put out with Axelar, where what you were talking about earlier, how you can swap, they're going to have the most liquidity on the XRP ledger. So you'll be able to go from your wallet, make a swap on one chain, and the coins will actually like never leave your wallet. It's just like one API call, and then boom, the coins are there. And it feels like And that's the second or third time I've seen or heard something that's happened on the XRP ledger that I've seen on Pulsechain, but they are like 3-4 months behind. It like feels like there's somebody that's just out front of everybody. And I don't know, is it Richard and Jack Levin and the Maker guys and the Aave guys all working together? Because to overcome the entities that are in control now, one of them can't do it alone. I don't even think CZ could. So I think they're smart enough to realize it, and it all makes sense, bro, everything you're saying. And with just Richard, the scrutiny he's in, he's never going to come out and publicly say, oh, this is what's going on, guys. I'm responsible for PDI. You're going to want to buy today, do this, and then everything will be. He can't do that. It's all going to be cryptic. It's going to be in code. And then in the future, he'll probably come out and say, look, guys, it's all there. If you had went on chain and looked, like that message you were talking about, every single thing was deleted. But what, Hex is beautiful, or love me some Hex?
Yeah,
that's not coincidence. There's a reason for this stuff.
I don't know if it's me. I haven't heard anybody speak
Keep
for like the
doing
last
it,
minute.
You're crushing it. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, man. I definitely appreciate it. I mean, like I said, all this came to fruition because of you guys, man. Just sitting around and listening to Sonny and Vibra and just the verse and just like knowing nothing at the time, absolutely nothing. And then being able to just in my mind go, the biggest narrative that anyone could possibly think of is a pumpable stable coin that you could literally build an ecosystem around, and then finding out about the Atropa ecosystem and what it does and the naming of things and like how powerful it truly is. And now we're getting into like these levels of new gas and being able to literally quantify gas on our chain to where it will literally be powerful on other chains. Like, it's crazy. Like literally running a inverse chromatography gas equation, literally inversing gas and running like, so at first we think we're operating on the layer 1, and then all of a sudden layer 1 is layer 8, right? And then all of a sudden layer 8 is layer 64, like as far as gas terminology goes. And then we're literally going to be, and people already are creating these new crazy type of that are able to operate seamlessly on these other levels of transactioning. Like, so if you want to be on the 8th layer around the around every blockchain, you have the ability to do that and be hosted by this gas form that's going to run on every chain. And these gas forms can make things faster, slower, smoother, combustible. Like, it's like the way I look at it, it's like you can literally send a transaction in the future and make it land there 2 days, like a payday advance loan that like you can make it literally land in your wallet 2 days before. It's like taking a flash loan out, but it's like taking a flash loan out 2 days ago and performing it and paying it back. You could probably even make a slow gas to where if you want to pay people out over time, you can have it take 5 days, but it pays everyone out over a 5-day period. And then at the end of the gas is kind of depleted away, but it's famously done its job. And so I think, and that's just one form of it, but I think gas plays the gas itself, and how gas, and we're going to move away from that too, right? So as we get stronger and more powerful, we're literally going to have to go to a new form of it, like plasma. Like, it's literally going to be upgraded. We want it, like combustible gas isn't even going to be useful to us anymore. Like, as the chain grows, we're going to keep growing, and so will those actual particles and the elements, and their combination of them. I believe we will start seeing that iteration of also come. And I think that's why Pulse is so unique. That as long as we have validators that are hosting and storing and doing benevolent factors and sitting around, not we're all playing a small role in something that I believe is way much bigger than all of us. And I think that it's, whether we're here or not, this is going to be something that's going to be very unique for people to be paying attention to regardless. But being able to attach and incentivize not only the chain to act a certain way, to learn and literally have to go through pain to figure it out. So like the chain itself, the AI itself is going through these stages of like almost infancy, right? It's like you don't take a brand new AI, like you like the way that I've seen it. It's like at first he taught it scheduling, he taught it time, then he taught it the difference between like scheduling between human, like adults and kids. So like at first it was like, okay, just timing of things, right? The next iteration was, okay, who's on time to these things and what's their age brackets. So you can so then the AI could tell if it was a kid or an adult, or if it's an adult that acts like a kid, or a kid like, I mean, you know what I mean? So it started at a very basic level, and then it seems like what I found, I know it's far-fetched, but the AI was then actually put into a classroom to where every student and every teacher uploaded their models and their papers to it, right? So every scheduling event, everything, every paper they turned in, every homework, every graded paper was fed through this AI system. So that was it. And at that point, that's grades, 12 through, all the way to college. And now we've stepped up its game. It's graduated college, and now it's being fed scholarly level publications that were already embedded through the hexadecimal code, and then finalized and continuously being added to with Titanx and Zen, which then Zen is just this burst of data, which makes it unique because that's something that is technically, I guess you would need that in case of emergency. They already have a fail safe in place, and one running, and another one that is across all these other chains that's already been running. So they have like these little safety models that if something seems to have gone out of whack, or if they want to introduce maybe a new cure, or something like that, anything like that, they would have the ability to do so with Zen. And that's why 650 million contracts in a short period of time. That's a lot of data, and that is a lot of weight, and that's a lot of stuff you can push around just in a 24-hour period. So it's just the fact they have the ability to do that, I think, is kind of a fail-safe model as far as a language model would go. And again, it might not even be feeding it language. It might be literally able to decipher the language itself through the hexadecimal. And to me, it's pretty awesome. I mean, this is seriously where it's headed, and where actually this is where it was always headed. I mean, the SINS Foundation, he donated a lot of money to, or he raised $30 million in research for through it. So we always knew that he was real big into healthcare. Maybe this was a tip of the hat back to him. Maybe they took some of that money, invested into hosting some server, some nodes, and interpreting the data, and publishing it. So it's and seamless, and the companies that seem to be behind it, like Relex, I believe, is a multi-billion-dollar German company, right? It's definitely interesting. I think they're not actually German. I think there's German investors, and it's like seemingly tied to it, but there are companies from these other areas, and definitely not U.S. I think some are, but most of them seem to be out of other places. So it's just, I think big. It's a big enough breakthrough that if you attach this narrative to Pete, I don't know what else. I already said that before. It's like every time we uncover this stuff, I was like, I don't think I can get more bullish. And then I'm like, wait, what? Okay, here we go again. And so at the end of the day, it's like the message, my delivery, and I need to work on it. I'm not the best at, always getting out. I can kind of just jump to people are still wondering what I said 30 minutes ago, much less what I'm talking about now. But that's because I get excited about it, because I am passionate about it. But that's why I definitely appreciate y'all guys coming in here and taking the time to ask the questions and speak y'all's minds, because at the end of the day, doesn't matter how much any research any of us do, none of this works unless we have people here at least wanting to conversate and hold conversations. Right or wrong or indifferent is, to me, makes no difference. It's just the fact of us being here talking about it that will excite the AI, which has a positive feedback on us, which is it's just like they relate to each other so well that it can literally create narrative, and it can create sentiment almost out of thin air with a little bit of human interaction or hype per se. A lot of things can come to fruition and manifest themselves, especially through the use of AI. And I think that's what we've seen, is this AI technology that can adapt, it can change, and not only, and it can be benevolent and still be a host and provide rewards and incentivize it, and learn at the same time. And we're all still learning too. Like, it incentivizes us to not just be degens, but learning chemical compounds of gas. Like, what? Like, so that's what's kind of incentivizing us to do that, and it wants us to speak truth with a token, right? It wants us to find the value of the tokens that, just so happen to be, popular by demand or ill popular by demand. Is kind of just the point of the blockchain, is it finding out the truth. If, us finding it out, it finding it out, it's like it's all working seamlessly together to ultimately back this currency with an idea that you can't take away. Like, the US dollar is one thing, backing it with gold is great, but having these models and the science behind, curing disease as the basis of our currency backing, like, it's mind-boggling. And if any out of something like that to come into fruition, it would be Richard. And how huge! I mean, if you're going to change money, that's one of the, it's a huge way to do it. I don't even see if there's another. I don't even know if there's a. I mean, sure, there's other models, but it's not just health. Like, we were talking about combustible engine, other models that are just, going to expand and going to grow as the chain expands and grows. So as we literally break and build technology on chain, the chain itself breaks and rebuilds that technology for itself. Like, what? And so it's literally can only get stronger and smarter the more that we interact and play with it. It will then give us positive feedback loop. So then we keep playing with it, and then it's just this layer and this absolute engine of, and we see how powerful it is that those publications seemingly came out of nowhere. Like, we weren't talking about them a few days ago. No one was, and now they're just out there. But we have been talking about PDI, and we have been talking about some of this stuff for a while. So sometimes it just takes someone finding one little piece of it, and then the narrative spreads, and then, just like a mind virus, the AI just absolutely starts going everywhere, which is what you would want to see. And you're an investment. If you're an investor, you want to see the stuff that you're holding being talked about and being utilized. And even if it's shitty, we would like it. But this seems to be all positive.